I woke up in the middle of the night and felt someone staring at me. I rubbed my eyes and looked down at the end of the bed where my eyes met hers. It was a woman. "Mom? Is that you?" She had a knife. I was young when my dad died of a heart attack, and that's when I started being haunted. From the moment he passed, my life took a huge turn, like the universe was playing some cruel joke on me. It all happened the day before I started primary school. I was a desolate child and went from being a bubbly, popular preschooler to a shy, quiet kid who would walk around by herself on the playground at lunch. Everywhere I went, it was like I was followed by a dark cloud. No one wanted to talk to the kid who just lost their dad. It was hard to make real friends, so my little 5-year-old mind decided to make friends on my own. I always had an overactive imagination, but it was when I turned around 9 years old that this one incident gave me the ability to see things. I remember it was history class. My teacher brought in a gas mask from World War II to show the class, and even though she specifically told people not to put on the gas mask because of toxic fumes or whatever, my imaginary friends all dared me to put it on, so I did. When my teacher came back, she freaked out. In fact, she was so angry and worried that her panic infected me, and I began to worry I might die from putting on this mask. I remember freaking out, hyperventilating in the mask, and then realizing I was breathing in more fumes, and then freaking out even more. I don't remember who took it off, but I remember even with the heavy mask off my face, I began feeling lightheaded. My hearing went all muffled, and then my sight started to blur. Luckily, the gas mask was harmless, but the threat of death became the first in a series of spiraling scenarios. It's worth mentioning that at this moment in time, I lived in an old, dark, damp place that resembled a haunted house. Cold, creepy, and cramped. Coupled with the damage caused by my father's passing and the fear of death from such a young age, I was literally and figuratively in a bad place. My mother was also distant and wasn't much consolation, even though this was probably when I needed her the most. But it's hard to blame her after all she's been through. Soon, I became obsessed with death. I remember wondering if, when I went to sleep, would I wake up the next morning? If I walked down the street and a car came by, was there a possibility they'd crash right into me? I didn't want to die, mind you, so these thoughts gave me frequent panic attacks, and I would often seclude myself from my family. I started seeing shadows at night, which would scare me half to death. It was small movements in the corners of my eyes at first, but slowly it built up. Until one day, when I woke up in the middle of the night to see a woman by my bedside. Mom? No. She was tall, had long, dark curly hair, and was in a white nightgown. At first she seemed harmless, until I looked closer, and in her hand held a butcher's knife. I was paralyzed. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, not even a scream. All I could hear was my own heart about to rip out of my chest. When I finally snapped out of it, I grabbed my sheets and hid under, thinking I had no choice but to accept death. I closed my eyes and waited for the cold touch of the knife. Then I remember waking up the next morning. I was confused but relieved, or so I thought, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. For the next couple of weeks, maybe months, I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't sleep. Things got worse at school too, as now I wasn't just seeing things, but hearing them. I was constantly hearing voices, whispers in my ear, and began to see colors where there wasn't any. This could be on the floors or in my notebook, but it was also on people's faces. It was like looking through a kaleidoscope. With how little sleep I was getting, this made it impossible to focus, let alone work. And so eventually, I was referred to a mental health team. I explained my story along with what I related each color I saw and what they meant. Red was the devil, black was the Grim Reaper, and yellow was the good one. Yellow represented angels. I should mention, as I was obsessed with death, I also became very concerned with religion, Christianity in particular. Angels, devils, the afterlife, heaven, hell, my dad. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I always believed the shadows I saw were ghosts and demons. And even though I was obsessed with death, I was afraid of it, because I was sure I'd end up in hell. I've been in therapy for 10 years. Since then, I've been confused about things I see. Spiritualists say I'm sensitive or spiritually prone. Doctors say it could be hallucinations from schizophrenia. What do I think? I think it's all in my head. I know I was consumed with religion, but I don't believe I see ghosts. It's just my imagination. It's got to be. I mean, they diagnosed me with depression, anxiety, and OCD when I was 10. I remember them saying I was medically delusional. Admittedly, therapy helped. As many horror stories about therapy as I've heard, it's really helped me as I've grown. The voices went away, and soon after, the colors too. Even though I never saw the woman in the nightgown again, I still remember her clear as day. And I still see shadows and perhaps the odd movements in the corners of my eye. But it's nothing serious and nothing I can't cope with. I was such a scared, frightened little girl and didn't know what to do. And with the help of my mother, my therapist, and my psychologist, I've finally become the woman that I am today. I still have a long way to go, and from dealing with childhood trauma, it's hard to develop into a functioning adult. I've recently been diagnosed with autism, which has given me a lot of closure as to why I find it so hard functioning as an adult, and coming to terms with my tragic past. I miss my dad so much, but through therapy, I found a love in art and wish to become an artist one day, where I can express myself in a healthy way.